I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube.
Oh, nice,
That
nice.
way, my YouTube fans can get it, my Twitch fans can get it.
Fantastic.
Just gonna change the thumbnail real quick to the one that I made. Okay. All right. Looks like we are good to go. Uh Man, I am really excited to have a very, very special guest with me. I have GrappLr. What is going on, my dude?
Everything good here, man. Thanks for inviting me.
No, I
Uh,
really appreciate you coming on. Seriously.
I'm sure we're gonna have fun.
Oh, dude,
Both
yeah.
that guy's inspiration. We have a lot to talk about. I'm positive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So usually, like, I like to do this in the beginning of the 1v1 episodes, but since we're doing a pre-show and I kind of
Mhm.
want people to watch the entire thing, let's get into like, how you started on YouTube, like what got you to create content on YouTube. Like, did you start with Legends of Runeterra? Like, did you always want to go right into
No,
like Riot stuff? Okay.
no.
So how did it all start?
Uh, I got on YouTube pretty late. I started on Twitch. I think I started on Twitch first time probably like 2015, but my internet sucked, so I couldn't really stream properly because I was living in Brazil and just bad internet overall.
Got it, got it.
Then I came back around 2017 September, and I just started doing like daily streams of. My first stream title was "Ask Me Hard Questions." I just hung around and just chatting.
Right.
Quickly got a viewer and pretty much chilled at like 15, 20 viewers doing IRL for about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just did it for fun. For me, it was a hobby. I just love streaming. For me,
Right.
streaming is like the best thing ever.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, it's like one of those things that I started in the Ashes community, right? So this is like my first time truly going into like actual content development and forming a community, which, has been it's a very satisfying thing because you have to
It is.
put, just like I'm sure so much work to cultivate a community, to curate, all the content you want to do, how you want to present yourself. Like it's a lot of work, man. And
100%.
you're
But
basically a
you're
one man
absolutely right.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was super hyped for a game called Artifact that was coming out by Valve. I don't know if you know the game. It's a card game by
Mm.
Valve.
Oh, okay. No, I've never heard of
It
it.
was a big meme for a while because it failed pretty hard, but
Ooh, okay.
like I was part of the Discord. It was basically what's happening in Ash's Discord now. Like everyone was hyped. We were there for months, just waiting for the game to come out, and
Right.
came out. I grew to about 75 viewers until the game died. Died really early,
Like how are
and
like a month in or
no, it survived for like over half a year,
oh,
but it
okay.
had a lot of like design issues that
Right.
they ended up just scrapping the whole thing.
Oh,
And
damn.
I I played poker for a long time, so I like card games. Actually,
Okay.
did the first card game I streamed, and after that, I went into trying a few other things on Magic the Gathering, this and that.
Mhm.
And one day, one of my mods said I should try Legends of Runeterra, which is the Riot card game. I told him screw that because I hated Riot. I'm like, Riot sucks, dude. I'm a Valve guy. I play Dota. Screw League of Legends.
Right.
But my mod was on my butt. I don't know if I can say on my ass. I don't know
No,
what
go
your
for it. Yeah.
PG-13. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, man.
My mod was on my ass, and eventually I said, "Fine, I'll give it a shot." I tried it. I liked it. Had decent viewership. I tried it the next day, and just viewership went up, and never kind of looked back. Like it just grew pretty fast.
Right. Well, I think as long as you love what you do, because there's a lot of content creators that get into a game that they think, "Oh, I might like it," and they start growing like rapidly or fast,
Yeah,
and the creator ends up not liking the game they're known for. You know what I mean?
that's
So it's
true.
like you're literally like pressured to play this game that you don't find fun because you don't want to lose your audience. And I think that has to be probably the worst feeling in the world as a content creator, to be like, I chose this game that I thought was going to look fun. Turns out it's not really that fun, but I'm growing in this game and I don't want to lose that growth by saying, I don't want to
Yeah.
play this game no more. You know what I mean? It's just,
No,
it's just, it's
there's
a
a lot
sad
of
thing.
people who get stuck on that. It's a
Oh, yeah.
the problem is like your viewers don't follow you for new games.
No, no.
Like when I was speaking in Legends of Runeterra, I was at a time averaging like 1,500 viewers on Twitch,
Mm,
and now if I do variety, I get like 200-300 viewers, just
wow.
because like Runeterra is dying now, so I'm doing much less Runeterra stuff. I'm trying other stuff around, but generally speaking, it's pretty common to lose most of your viewership if you swap, especially if you go like into an entirely different category. But my view was always for me streaming is a hobby, and if I
Mhm.
make good money out of it, which I did, awesome.
Right.
But I never allowed myself to get into the mindset of this is going to be my job and I'm going to take a job first, hobby second.
Okay.
That's
I
why
like that
like
approach.
I made a rule not to stream more than 4 hours a day, just not to burn out of it, not to
Right.
start to resent it as something I don't like to do. But
That's a good mentality to have. I mean, honestly, like I would love to have Twitch be something that can sustain me financially, but to also have the laterality and freedom to not feel as shackled, because again, I see these people that go so hard and they do like these 12-hour, 10, 12-hour streams, every day. And it's like, I understand if you love what you do, you don't mind doing it, but burnout's inevitable, especially if you have a family. Like I have a
yeah,
wife, I have kids. It's like I can't stream for 10 or 12 hours every day. I mean, I'm not some
yeah,
basement dwelling dude still in his mom's house. Like if that was the case,
sure.
yeah, I can probably still do that, but definitely not like, for me right now.
I
Um,
understand. I
but
mean, I think if you're like if you hit it really big and you say, well, I don't know how long this is going to last. I want to cash out as much as possible. It
right.
even makes sense. Like if you want to just get as much money in that year or two when you're really at the top. But if that's not your plan, if you want to do it very long term, I think burnout sucks. You got to be careful.
Oh,
It's so
dude.
hard to like get rid of burnout.
Oh yeah. And I've seen, videos from YouTubers that like they're stepping away, they don't like YouTube anymore, and they actually end up resenting their own community at that point, right? Because
Yeah,
they feel like their community is forcing them to keep going, like keep doing what you're doing, like don't stop. And the guy's like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all the comments. I'm sick of having to like be this wind up monkey for your entertainment every day. And
absolutely.
I think that happens to certain people. And again, like it's all about your frame of mind. And I think if you can have a health, because it's like having a health mentality even at a real job, or I want to say that this is a real job, but just like at any job, you have to have a healthy mindset. And I think if
Sure.
your mindset starts to poison, you should really start to analyze like what exactly you're doing and why you're doing it. um but I guess with all that heavy stuff out of the way, that kind of went pretty deep for a little bit.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, let's get into are you want to get into the actual 1v1, because I want to talk Ashes already, if you don't mind.
Whenever you want.
All right, let's do this then. All right, let's start the episode in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host, Vladis, and today I have a very special guest. He is the king of all of numerology. I have our boy, GrappLr. What is going on, my dude?
How's it going, man? Nice to be on. Thank you for inviting me.
Dude, no, thank you for coming on again. Like, I literally, like everybody else in the Ashes community, saw your Alpha 2 Ashes
Oh,
of
did they?
Creation. Oh, yeah. Dude, like all the content creators, we were all talking about it. We were having a good laugh. So you know what's funny? I actually, watched TikTok, and the guy, I'm sure you've seen the dude of numerology. He's kind of balding. He has like gray hair, and he talks about numerology on TikTok all the time. Have you ever seen him?
No,
Okay.
I have not.
So I seen him a lot, and it's really fascinating, the whole numerology aspect of it, of like once you calculate your date of birth and what number you belong to. So for
Mhm.
me, my birthday is in July, right? So if I calculate my entire, I don't want to say my birthday because I don't want people to dox me. So,
Sure.
but basically, if I were to calculate my entire birthday, I come up to a 6. And what's really funny is that a 6, it's call it life paths. So each life path has a number, right? So you have 1 through 9, and then you have 11, 22, and 33. So 11, 22, and 33 are what's called master numbers.
Yeah.
So, and like the 33 is a
Yeah.
master number. And so I am not a master number. I am just a number 6, but number 6 values family, which is really funny because I always wanted a family as a kid. I wanted to have, I wanted to have 2 or 3 kids. I wanted a family so bad. And that's what 6 life paths value, which is kind of crazy. Just to give you a little bit in depth, because like I actually did look into a lot of numerology stuff as we were going into. So I just was curious if you actually like research numerology a little bit, or
I
just
did
for the
not.
memes.
I was looking for a meme just to mess with Discord, and I thought the numbers got together pretty nicely. I'm like, why not make a video out of it? Have a bit of fun.
Dude, yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, to be honest. It was great. So the first question I have to ask you is, how
Sure.
did you find out about Ashes of Creation? Was it the Lazy Peon video?
Well, I mean, I was always paying attention to what the Kickstarter games were off and on. So I
Okay.
did see Ashes on Kickstarter, but I've never paid for one single game on Kickstarter. I just knew about it.
Right.
And then I did really get into it once I saw the Lazy Peon video. Yeah.
Right. And was that the Lazy Peon video in 2020 or like a more like recent
It
one?
was the original one.
The
His first
original one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because when I look at your YouTube like category or not, like all the content you've put out, like I haven't really seen you do like MMORPGs. It's mostly like these like a digital card games.
Yeah.
So like are you going to play like once Ashes comes out, are you gonna like almost become like an Ashes content creator and start cultivating Ashes content, or are you just kind of looking at this as just like, hey, this is a game I just want to play?
I'll definitely try at first, and I'll see how that goes. But if it doesn't end up being something that really works super well for YouTube or Twitch, I'll still play it for sure because I
Okay.
love MMOs.
Okay.
Still my number one favorite game genre.
Really? Okay. So like what MMOs have you played?
I have probably like maybe 15,000 hours in RuneScape. Like that was all the way from like RuneScape Classic from back in the day.
Dang. Okay.
So mostly RuneScape. I played a lot of classic WoW when it relaunched because
Okay.
when
In
WoW
like
was back in the
2019.
day, my parents would never give me money for
Oh
computer
yeah.
games.
Right.
So yeah, mostly RuneScape, classic WoW. Then I've dabbled in all the other ones. I've tried Elder Scrolls. I've tried Final Fantasy 14 sucks in my opinion. I couldn't get into that.
Okay.
I've tried Arcade. I've played most of the major ones. At least given them a shot.
Okay. So really you found your home in RuneScape.
Well, yeah, it was my it was one of my two childhood games. That and Dota.
Oh, okay. So what is it about for you specifically that makes the MMO genre special to you? Is it the fact that you can play a game truly by yourself with a whole bunch of people, or is it the fact that you want to play with other people? Like you have a kind of system that cultivates these people that are all surrounding you where you can do content together, kind of like going out with the boys and just doing crazy shit.
Uh, so it's an interesting question. I think what makes MMOs really great, and this is not just MMOs, like more and more we're seeing more like online leaderboards, online this, online that. Like even single player games are getting online aspects to them these
Oh yeah.
days. I think there's a real sense of achievement when you get something that other people care about. And when you're playing in an MMO world like an MMORPG, if you get a really cool item, people around you, they acknowledge that, you know, whether they can be jealous about it, whether they can say it's cool, whether they, it doesn't matter if they care or not. You feel like you did something and you didn't waste your time doing it. If I play a single player game and I get a really cool sword, yeah, cool, I got the sword for myself, but nobody else gives a crap, you know, like there's no one
Right.
else in that world. It's an achievement for myself, but at the end of the day, it's just pixels for me. Whereas
Okay.
if other people care about it, it has more inherent value. You know, if other people do care, if other people are in the same world as you. Like, I
Right.
mean, take real life. If I dig up some gold, why is it valuable? Because other people want it, right?
Right.
I mean, that's for everything. If nobody else wants it, it's really inherently worth nothing. So playing in an MMORPG world, every achievement I get, I feel like I'm not totally just wasting my time by myself. I'm wasting my time while everyone else wastes their time around me as well. So it's like a group thing. I don't
Mm.
feel like I'm isolated in what I do.
Right. And it's kind of funny because when I hear opinions of like Asmongold, he kind of wants the exact opposite of what you're asking for. He wants to feel isolated in a very crowded world. Like he wants to be able to do stuff completely by himself in an MMORPG, but be surrounded by like thousands of people. But having the option to like want their help, but not needing like not being forced to need their help. Which again is quite fascinating because I think there's a lot of people who want these single player mindset in MMOs, and then there's this entire other ecosystem that wants these very group based MMORPGs. And I'm in the camp of wanting the group based MMORPG.
Well, I would agree with Asmongold. Uh, I would take his position as well. I do like for example, every MMO I've played, I've basically done 90% solo. I like the fact that I can do stuff with groups. I like the fact that it's more efficient sometimes to do stuff with groups. But I also think it's really fun to be able to make your own choice of what you want to do with people or without people, even if it's not as efficient. I
Okay.
like to like. What do you not like about the idea of Asmongold? What he says about not wanting to be like forced to play with others?
So I would say for me, I don't mind if a person wants to play by themselves, but when I hear that they want to be able to do everything by themselves. I think of like the stuff that you said was valuable, to earn that kind of valuableness by yourself, like to basically get end game gear, to be able to get like the most sought after gear on the server or in the game. I can completely do that by myself without anybody's help. Like
You can do that in Ashes.
you think you can?
You can buy whatever gear you want in the auction house as long as you can make money by yourself. You're fine.
That is true. But I think there's also going to be another aspect of, recipes that are also, I mean, because again, anything that's craftable can be tradable. But then you think of like these really high end, maybe 10 of an item on a server kind of thing. I guess to me, I guess it truly just, how independent do you want to be? And is that independence going to, I wouldn't say take away from the group aspect of MMOs, but I don't see a problem in saying like, hey, for this kind of content, like you can't do this by yourself, like a raid,
Me
for an
neither.
example.
Absolutely.
You know,
You have to have content that is either good for solo or good for group. You can't have it both ways.
right. Well, I think there is a way to try to have the appeasers of solo players and the appeasers of group players, right? So,
100%.
but I
Yeah.
think it's just a matter of balancing the fact that you can earn some pretty cool stuff by yourself, but the best stuff is stuff that you do with groups. And I think when I hear Asmongold, like I think when he says he wants to do stuff by himself, I think he's referring to like even the best stuff in a game, he wants to be able to earn by himself. And that's, I think, the only aspect I disagree with. Because for me, I want to be able to, like, if there is something really, really cool that's like 10 on a server, right? These two-handed swords, and there's only 10 of them. Like, I don't think you should be able to earn that by yourself with no one's help whatsoever, even with gold. I think that should be an item that if it drops, it's bind on pickup, and only 10 of them can be active, on the server. And there's like this prestigiousness to it, right?
Well, I'm absolutely fine with that opinion as well. I mean, that's fine. Although I would argue that if you have a lot of gold, you can hire a group of 50 people to do the raid with you. That's kind of by yourself, but it's not at the same time.
right.
It depends what you mean exactly by yourself.
No,
But no, I agree with you. I think we're just talking semantics here.
well, but I think the semantics are quite important because there's that delineation sometimes of like, how people say like, oh, I just want to be able to be isolated by myself in a room, group full of everybody, but then have kind of the same opinion that I do, where it's like, yeah, I want to be able to get into a group to do the best stuff or to get the best stuff, but for the majority of the time, I would just want to be able to do stuff solo. And I think even for like a really staunch PvPer, right? I don't mind them trying to play the game by themselves, but I think again with Ash's systems in place, I think they might be at a slight disadvantage because if everybody
should be,
yeah, as they should be, because if everybody's rolling in groups because they don't want, they want the safety in numbers approach to where, if they see another group and they start battling, it's that safety in numbers rather than I see a group of 6 and I see this solo player just, doing whatever and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go kill this single player. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's kind of I think the approach that a lot of single players don't like is the fact that they feel like, oh, well, if I'm by myself, I'm at a disadvantage in Ashes. And it's like, well, that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? And I think it's truly that mindset that I think a lot of these theme park MMO players that have been cultivated in the MMO space for the past like 10 years, I think it's going to be a really hard aspect for them to grasp because most of the time they can just select a PvE server and just be completely safe all the time. But Ashes isn't going to be that. So I've always been really curious how the average player is going to be able to take the fact of being in a world where PvP can exist and you can die. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. Have you played Classic WoW?
Oh yeah, I grew up. That's like my number one MMO. I played WoW for about 16 years.
So would you say Classic WoW is which category would you put it in? It's very solo friendly or it's not solo friendly at all?
I think it's very solo friendly.
You can't get the best gear solo. Like you can't even get any end game gear almost solo. All the best
True.
gear is raid.
True, but I think in the aspect that I'm talking about is the fact that you can literally go from 1 to 60 by yourself. So
You're talking about the leveling process, not the best in gear end game slots.
Right. So, and again, it's that semantic, right? Because there's a lot of people who think that leveling by yourself in Ashes is not going to be obtainable by yourself. I think it should be. I think it should be as
no way. There's no way it's not. Has there ever been a game where you can't level to max level in an MMO by yourself?
Oh yeah, a lot of the old ones.
You couldn't do it. You couldn't grind hogs until.
Nope. Classic WoW was one of the first MMOs where you can actually kind of do that by yourself.
Like, I haven't played any of the older ones in Classic WoW. Like I played RuneScape
right.
and then I only went to newer ones. So it could be the case. I can understand that.
Right.
Although I personally, if the content is so hard, that you cannot deal with even normal game content without a group, that's
Right.
honestly not the game for me, I think.
Right.
If I can't if I can't level by myself. I'd be
Right.
really surprised if that was the case with Ashes though. Do you think it is?
No. No.
No.
I truly don't. And again, like I think of Final Fantasy 11. Final Fantasy 11 was a game you literally can level up from 1 to 10 by yourself, but from 10, excuse me, from 10 to 75, you literally had to be in a group for everything. Like even questing
Sure.
a single mob, you would not be able to take at level 10. Like they would
Sure.
destroy you. So and again, I don't really know I'm sure there are other examples that chat can probably talk about, but the only MMOs that I played from way back when was City of Villains, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11 for like 2 months, which sucked because that actually had XP loss, which means that if not debt loss, like meaning if you
Yeah.
were barely level 27 and you died, you can de-level to
26.
26. It was
Yeah.
that hardcore and I hated it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is terrible. But I guess with all that being said, like for you, like what was the thing that actually drew you to Ashes? Like what was the thing where it's like, holy shit, this game is insane? Like the selling point, I guess.
I I mean, it has a lot of good selling points. I like the fact that there's no publisher that's going to be like pushing their own agendas. I think that's a pretty big point for me. It's made by one guy, or Steven and his partner, and
Right.
they don't really have to answer to everybody. And I have the hope that they truly are not like money first, game second. I'm
Right.
hoping that's the case. You can't know. I don't know Steven. He's not my friend. I've never met the guy.
Right.
But if it is the case that he actually wants a good MMO, and of course he wants money, but if money comes second to that, most of the pitfalls that make MMOs bad, I think, can be avoided. And what gets me excited about Ashes is, first of all, a lot of the premises are good. A lot of the systems are good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can just avoid the bad, I can see myself having a lot of fun. But
So
most MMOs just can't avoid the bad stuff.
okay, and so in to your opinion, what is the bad stuff? What are the things that destroy MMOs?
Creating problems to then sell you solutions, basically.
Okay, so basically paid for pay to convenience.
Yeah, pay to convenience, pay to win. Devaluing. I mean, there is even a little bit like, for example, cosmetics are absolutely a net negative for pretty much almost every player,
Right.
but they're a very good source of income for the devs.
Right.
So I can understand it's a minor evil to make sure we're much more profitable and we can do more content, sure. But at the end of the day, every little minor evil you add to the game adds up. And the greedier you get for money, the worse the game gets. And there
Mhm.
comes a certain tipping point where like, this is not that fun anymore.
Right. And so I would say for myself, like in being in the Ashes ecosystem for as long as I have and literally devouring every Ashes content every day for the past, like, I don't know, 3 years. If Steven really was that way, you would be able to go to the Ashes of Creation website right now and buy something. And guess what? You can't. They stopped selling pre-order packs in January.
This is true, but they've sold a lot of stuff. If we're going to be like, how many?
They have sold a lot of stuff.
If you had to guess, how many people are going to have access to Alpha 2?
Over
that bought in?
200,000, probably 200,000 plus.
So let's say, what's the minimum you pay for that? 250, right?
I think so. 275, I
Let's
think.
say on average, people paid 350. Let's just say
Okay.
that's still, what is that? $70 million.
Oh, yeah.
So he's already profitable if that's the case. Like
Well, yeah.
he's already well into profit. So I
Uh,
don't know. I mean, I am very hopeful that he's not in it just for the money, and it's most likely the case. He seems like a legit guy who really likes MMOs.
right.
But I mean, I'm not going to close myself to say it's impossible. I just hope it's. I have good optimism that it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think for me too. I mean, and again, like for every live stream that I've ever watched, which is all of them, and I said this literally yesterday in a reaction stream I did to Blue Squadron, because Blue Squadron was basically saying how, like, basically, oh, Intrepid's been asking for your money, and Steven is literally almost every stream, if you were to go back from like 2020 when the whole Lazy Peon video came out to now, he said so many times that please, if you're on the fence, if you're skeptical at Ashes, please don't buy a pre-order pack.
Sure.
And I have not seen a company do something like that. Usually they are, hey guys, we're a fledgling company, we're really in desperate need for your help to make the best next huge MMO for you guys. If you can just go to our order site and just order whatever you can. Like, we'd really appreciate that. And I think that would be a genuine statement to also say, but Steven's never said that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, the fact is that I think if Intrepid or Steven was very money hungry, you would be able to go right now and purchase something. They would have not stopped selling packs. It's it's too profitable for them.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, at the end of the day, actions do speak louder than words. And
Right.
what I just look at all the positives. He's picking really good people to make the MMO. The people who work for him seem very passionate. They're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
I've not seen him put almost any systems I disagree with. Like, the amount of stuff I disagree with is minuscule.
Right.
So overall, it seems to be going in the direction that I personally like as a game. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I guess it's because like there's just a lot of people with a lot of misinformation, right? And they feel like they know, because there's believe me, if you go and watch the most recent, like, you know, still generally the most or the best MMORPG out there, I think that was like Lazy Peon's like second Major Ashes video. And then he followed it up again with like the most recent live streams for the past like 4 months. There's so much to this game. It is literally probably like the Path of Exile of MMORPGs. There is a lot to understand about these systems. Yeah, because it's truly massive how big the scope of this game is.
I hope it ties well together, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
No, and I think it honestly will. And the thing is that, you know, I think people's expectations, because there is a desperation currently in the MMORPG community, because there hasn't really been anything new that's come out. And all the new products that have came out have epically failed. You know, we had Lost Ark, which I think has actually good gameplay, but terrible monetization. I don't personally want to invest any form of my time into a pay-to-win game. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does. Well, I think there are people who do. Okay, but not me. I hate it. And then, of course, we had New World. You know what I mean? New World was like a game that a lot of people had faith in. And even with all of the stuff that happened with New World, it epically failed, even without pay to win. So all the stuff that people didn't like about MMOs or the monetization practices, they didn't have them. They had a box cost of $40.
True.
But that just goes to show you how terrible the base experience was. It was non-existent. The end game was literally just chest runs, like month 1, month 3. Like, it was literally just chest runs, along with all of the bugs, with all of the things. I mean, you remember the whole
gold dupes left and right. It was horrible.
Oh yeah, like the gold dupes and the whole, like, what was it, like the minimizing the screen and shaking it to be invincible. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was literally crazy. So,
but I will say, I love the leveling experience up to like level 35. I had a blast. I had such a good time.
Yeah, a lot of people had that experience. A lot of people said up until level 30, it was actually a really good leveling experience. And then from 30 to max level felt like a complete slog of a game. And
I quit at 30, like 38, 40. I just gave up on the game. But the first 30 levels were amazing.
Right.
If you like PvP.
Right. And I would say for you, like, what made that leveling so special? Like, was it the PvP, or was it maybe like the quests? Was it the open world? Was it the professions? Like what was it for you specifically that made it so special?
I really enjoyed the aspect of leveling in New World, because it was very similar to what I used to do endgame in Classic WoW. So I love to do whatever is considered efficient while doing inefficient things in small random bursts. So, for example, Classic WoW, what I used to do, I had my level 60 mage. I had pretty much full bis, and I would just do runs for Black Lotus, right?
Okay.
But the entire time I'm killing people while I'm doing my runs.
Right.
Anyone I see who's of the other faction, I run at them and kill them, right?
Right.
So while I am doing Black Lotus runs, it's very repetitive. Right. I'm getting a lot of micro PvP, sometimes 1v2s, sometimes 1v1s, just having a blast open world PvP.
Right.
New World was the same. I'm doing my stuff, I'm following the quest chain, but I'm just killing people left and right. You know,
right?
You see somebody, you'll sometimes get into a 10-minute war with the guy, you know, running around, you know, disengaging, re-engaging. Sometimes you get ganked by multiple people.
Right.
So I always like to go for a very, very mobile build where I'm pretty sure I can escape anyone I want and chase down anyone I want. I'll just play the entire open world experience while doing whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing, not to, like, you know, fall behind. So I'll do my questing, leveling, gathering, but at the same time looking for fights.
Okay. And do you main a mage usually in MMOs?
I almost always main rangers, but Classic WoW doesn't really have a ranger.
Yeah, the hunter is
hunter, but I hate pets.
Right.
So you can't really play hunter without a pet.
Right. I mean, you could do marksman. I mean, now there's ways, but in Classic there wasn't a way to do it. So what did you think of the most recent like Ranger update?
It's decent. I don't think it like I think the Ranger class is decent,
Okay.
but I'm not a huge fan of like stances. I know they're not called stances per se. I'm just
Aspects.
not a huge fan of stances,
Okay.
like stance swapping. Nor am I a huge fan of like marks. But he does have really good kiting, and I usually play Rangers because I love to kite people,
Right.
especially like melee classes.
Right.
So I'm also very, very, very excited to see the Rogue class, but we've not seen anything for it yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
never play fighters in MMOs, but the fighter looks freaking amazing at like a very high skill level. I think he has such a high ceiling; it's ridiculous.
yeah, the fighter, like I've played everything in an MMO. Like I love warriors, I love rangers, hunters, I love healing, tanking, I love doing it all. So for me, I think right now the class that's kind of won me right now is the fighter. Up until I see the rogue. So right now for me, it's the fighter, it's the ranger, probably the cleric, mage, and then tank at the bottom, as far as the ones that we've seen so far.
Fair.
I think tank still has a long way to go as far as it being something that is more customizable and just, you know, it needs way more fleshing out, to be honest. At least we
Although,
saw it.
how many spells have we seen in total? Like, how many spells does a class have on average in Ashes?
So from what Steven has said, that he wants, when it comes to a level 50, you're gonna have an access of anywhere between 30 to 40 abilities.
Exactly. And how
But
many tech abilities have we seen?
anywhere between 15 to 17
Yes, we haven't even seen maybe half.
right. We haven't seen, like I said, we still missing a whole lot of stuff. And again, with the talent system, we don't know like what's the sweet number, right? So even though we have the library of 30 to 40 abilities for a class,
Sure.
like maybe you can only select 20 out of the
Yeah.
40, right? So we don't, like, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna be able to select everything, but if you
Most
can,
likely.
but if you can select more abilities, let's say you can go up to like maybe 25 abilities, then that means that there's going to be other abilities that are going to be a little bit more watered down, because there's going to be passives attached to those abilities that you can spec into by, you know, point allocation.
Yeah.
But if you choose not to point allocate into a certain ability, then it's going to be more of a base ability and not more of like a built-in, like more detailed, more hard-hitting ability kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I'm expecting as well. Like, we're on the same page.
Right. So honestly, like I think there's just a lot of stuff that Ashes, you know, still has a long way to go as far as like where the launch is. But I mean, do you like, because I know the meme side of the August 2nd stuff. Like, do you honestly feel that it's going to release August 2nd?
Listen, I've got irrefutable evidence. Now, it might be the case that Steven says, "Damn, I've been gotten," and changes it. But other than that, I think we're set on August 2nd.
Dude, honestly, Steven, please launch it August 2nd. Make GrappLr right. Dude, oh my God, it'd be so funny. It'd be so funny. And then he should just say, like, and then someone figured it out and we were panicking internally. But I mean, it's crazy enough because August 2nd is on a Friday. Most game launches are on Fridays.
Yeah, there it is.
So you'll have early access, which is 3 days prior, but then the actual launch could be August 2nd. So, I mean, it's not too far off. I mean, hey, I mean, I personally think September. I think, you know, usually like any kind of game company in fashion, they usually tend to wait to the last possible minute. So, and I think with as fleshed out as Alpha 2 needs to be and how much Intrepid wants it to be, I think they're going to try to wait for as long as they can to make sure that it is the best experience possible. Because you as both well know, if the Alpha 2 at, you know, the first week, you know, everybody, I'm talking everybody, every single streamer that has played an MMORPG is going to try Ashes, or is going to be watching someone play Ashes. And how bad would it look if it just looked like the debacle New World was, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think they're
Alpha
trying.
1 didn't do bad, and Alpha 1 was bare bones.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. And I think it was about properly setting expectations. And I think Steven is trying to do that again because, you know, as we are getting
he's gonna try, but
well, I mean, he's gonna try. But I mean, my whole thing is that I think, you know, there are a lot of people who want to play Ashes of Creation, but it's not about playing the game; it's about testing the game.
I'm going full playing the game, man.
You're gonna go full playing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'll find a way to play it. Whether it's broken or not, I'm gonna find a way to play it.
So because you are all about like the PvP and stuff like that, like what systems are you looking forward to the most to engage with when it comes to the Alpha 2? Are you talking like caravan runs to like, you know, attract those PvPers to you so that way you can start killing them off while protecting your caravan? Or you just want to go and gather stuff like the way you did in Classic WoW and just do those 1v1s or 1v2s?
So I want to figure out exactly what is the best 1v1 and 1vx class to play.
Okay.
And obviously, you have to take into consideration archetype like combinations. I don't even know what. I think level 35 is the Alpha 2, so we're gonna have those. I'm guessing.
Potentially, that's the level that he said like way back when.
So I want to figure out exactly which one I like the best, and it'll depend what systems are out and like how big of a penalty PvP is. But yeah, mostly I'll be looking to make money in game and PvP people in game. And in order to properly, I don't know, it depends on the game. Like New World, for example, I played bow rapier, and why? Because I could do 1v20 if I wanted to, and as long as I have bow rapier, nobody can catch me, right?
Right.
I can harass a group of 20 as long as I'm out of range. The moment they turn around to chase me, I can run away because I'm faster than everyone else.
Right.
You can do the same in almost any MMO. You just need to have the highest mobility character. And from what Steven says, is theoretically the rogue. I don't really know what that means, but
I think when he talks about mobility, I mean, I'm really curious as to like what he means by that.
Me too.
Because I still, in my heart of hearts, I think the Ranger is going to be the most mobile. Realistically, I think the Rogue will have a lot of mobility when it comes to melee. But again, you can't beat a ranged. Like, I'm sorry, I personally don't think a Rogue is going to be able to catch up to a Ranger. In my opinion, I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But I mean, it depends if like they do like, you know, poison, like you think of like a rogue and WoW with like crippling poison, you know, being able to like slow their opponent down, you know, if there's any way to like minimize the ranger's capacity to move, then I think, yes, you know, rogue will probably be the most mobile, but you got to catch them first. You know what I mean? So I think because the rogue does, I mean, the ranger does have great mobility from what we saw.
He does.
You know what I mean? So with the disengage, with the backflip ability to like, you know, vine them down and to slow them, the bear trap. I mean, there's just tons of stuff that you can do that a skilled ranger could make a rogue's life pretty hell. You know what I mean?
Who do you think wins in a 1v1, ranger or fighter?
God, if I had to say, oh my God, I don't know. My heart wants to say Ranger. But man, I think the fighter would probably win, to be honest.
I think the fighter takes it, yeah.
Yeah. Or go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think the only way the ranger takes it if he somehow denies him momentum, which is not easy to do.
Yeah.
I think the fighter takes it.
And especially because
he has too many tools.
Well, he has too many tools and he has a really epic DPS cooldown. The ranger doesn't. At least we didn't see a DPS cooldown. We saw like the aspects and the marks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there really isn't like a button you can push that just makes you do like omega damage. And with the fighter, you do have that. You know what I mean? Like you can literally just spam all your abilities and refresh them and spam them again. That's insane. You know what I mean? So I don't.
He has amazing gap closers.
Yeah,
he's hard to run away from. And he has slows, and he has rupture to like punish running away, and it's just an entire arsenal.
I know, and they look aggressive as hell, and they have an execute. I mean, God, I'm just getting excited talking about it because it's like I love warriors in games, and the Renkai. I don't know what race that you're thinking about playing, GrappLr, but for me, I've been wanting to see the Renkai in game for so long, and I think they look good. They don't look great. They look good. Because what would make them great is some of that World of Warcraft tusks. I want big manly tusks. I don't want these little.
I agree with you. That would be badass.
Yeah, like I want to see like a more meaner version of a Renkai. You know what I mean? And I know, like if you look on the wiki page for the Renkai, they're more militaristic, diplomatic, peace-loving kind of people. But there is another side to them, right? Like, can we not take that more masculine approach? You know what I mean? Like that Giga Chadness a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know There's also going to be the naval system, which a lot of people have been anticipating and have wanted to see more stuff from. Now, for you as a PvPer, like, is the naval system something that even attracts you? Is it even on your radar? Is it something you want to
Oh,
try?
absolutely. I think
Okay,
it's going to be really cool. Depends how well it's implemented and how good PvP combat is on ships. But
right.
I could see it being its own game, basically.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of people who love those games. What do they call, like, Blackwater or something, or those
yeah,
like fighting games?
yeah.
If the naval combat is good, that'll bring in its own people just for the naval combat.
Yeah, I mean, most people always mention Sea of Thieves, and I think
Yeah,
that's a pretty tall order to put into an MMO
it
because
is.
and again, I know Steven really wants to be as ambitious with this game as possible, but that's a level of ambition that I don't think can be achieved, at least not at the launch of the foundational game, right?
Yeah.
Like I think with some expansions, with some some time put into it, I think we could get there eventually, but let's not get too crazy, you know what I mean? Like, but I am excited to see like what the world bosses are going to be when it comes to naval. I'm excited to see what, are we going to have actual waves in the ocean? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you think of like sometimes when it's not just calm waters most of the time, it can get
No.
kind of crazy in the ocean. So I'm curious if boats are going to have that kind of buoyancy and like, being able to move and stuff like that. I don't know. I really just want to see what the ocean
They
just
have talked about
looks like.
buoyancy in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. They talked about it. They talked well, even with the caravan that they had floating out in the river. They talked about
Yeah.
like the current and stuff like that, and how again, I think it actually looked good as far as like the caravan transitioning to water and everything like that, how
That
it
was
actually
good.
operated. But I
I
think
think
that
the actual water movement was a little bit off. Like the caravans have breaks in the water, like you just stop moving. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I
hmm,
mean, little stuff they can iron out. That's not a problem. That's easily changeable.
right, and I think there's a lot of because I don't know how realistic they want to go. Like, as far as like water physics is a hard thing to nail in a game. It just is.
It
Like,
is.
it takes a lot of time to really develop all that stuff. And especially because of how many ships are going to be in there. I mean, you're going to have a 40-man ship, which is like the galleons,
Yeah.
right? And it's going to
Yeah.
be insane. Like, and again, Steven's talked about that you're not going to be able to operate something like that by yourself. So it's not like you can just go onto a galleon that's
Which I think
yours.
is good. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the other mariner classes that are going to have certain functions on the ship. You're going to have someone probably manning the sails, someone actually steering the ship, another person actually, getting the potion launchers or whatever to like hit out
Yeah.
into other ships. I think it's going to be a really epic thing to see if done correctly.
I
Uh,
really hope so. I think it's, and I love that it's open world PvP, no flagging systems. I think it
right,
makes it so much more cool.
right. I mean, so with that, there's also like the corruption system, right? So
Yeah.
there's this whole aspect that a lot of people have been, talking about with like, griefing and all this other stuff. And for you,
Mhm.
as a PvP or someone who enjoys PvP, like, are you going to be mainly like PvPing people who are purple? Because I'm sure you're aware of like the flagging system, right? The
Yeah.
green, purple, red.
Sure.
So when you're out in the world, would you like if you were just out by yourself and you're purple, like you're a combatant, and you run across someone who's green? Are
Yeah.
you going to be that type of player to leave them alone because okay, they're not wanting to do any combat, or are you going to try to ruin their day and engage in PvP?
It depends on my mood, right?
Okay,
Like, I I think the corruption system is in any game you play, you want a healthy player base. If
absolutely,
you were to do just allow griefing everywhere, player base dies. Everybody knows that.
absolutely,
Because the good PvPers have fun, the bad PvPers have no fun, then they quit. And you only have the good PvPers. And then out of those PvPers, the not so good ones don't have fun, they quit. And basically you just end up with nobody at the end of the day because
right,
nobody likes to play a full-on PvP game if they suck.
true,
It's just, especially in an MMO, like where it actually matters, like your time matters.
right,
For me, I mean, I'll always skirt with what is possible within the system. That's
okay,
why I hope the system is well designed to punish griefers enough that there's no real griefing. But there's always going to be ways around it. I I heavily doubt I'm just going to attack people for no reason. I almost never do. Like I do in World of Warcraft because it's opposite faction, so I kind of consider that part of the fun fantasy setting of it.
right,
But in a normal game, probably not. Although if I see somebody going for a really good tree and I don't know, like a rare rock or mineral,
right,
I'll probably attack him. Now, I think you so I wonder if you can annoy somebody enough to get them to fight back. So, for example, let's say someone's cutting a tree. I know in Alpha 1, if you get attacked while you're cutting the tree, your harvesting animation gets canceled,
Right.
right? So let's say I'm a ranger, I see somebody cutting a tree, I shoot one arrow at him, minimal damage, but I've canceled his entire animation.
Right.
I see him go back to cutting, shoot another arrow, shoot another arrow. I'm not going to get flagged until I kill him. And it takes a lot of arrows to kill someone.
Right.
You could theoretically also steal people's resources. You see him cutting a tree, shoot him, and then cut the tree yourself. If they don't fight back, it's your tree. So I think there's a lot of ways you'll be able to at least tell somebody, look, I'm going to do my own thing here. If you don't like it, you can leave or fight me.
So
Now,
or go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were finished.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to fight you back. They might just leave. But they might fight you back. And if they do, nobody really gets corruption.
Right. But I think there's also that extra layer of reputation, right? So because they're going to know your game tag, they're going to know your guild tag. And so if there is someone that is like, hey, I'm trying to gather lumber, right? And there's this guy that just keeps hitting me with arrows. They're going to get on Discord. They're going to tell their friends like, hey, like I'm trying to literally gather stuff. I can't. Like his guy's not killing me. He's a purple guy. I'm still flagged as green because I haven't fought him back. And this guy won't leave me alone. Like
Absolutely.
you're going to call for reinforcements. And then it's going to be like, well, what guild does he belong to? What's his name? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, but you could actually run across someone who is green and you realize, oh, they're a friend of mine. They're actually a friend. They're an alliance of our guild. You know what I mean?
100%.
And then you just leave them alone. Like, I think that's ultimately the cool aspect in my eyes about Ashes of Creation is the fact that you're going to be known on your server one way or another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's by your actual player tag or whether it's by your guild tag. And I think both are going to have equal in power because there's going to be people that are going to be known for doing certain things, whether they can be known for being murderers or known for being griefers or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? Or just like the freaking trolls, you know, to be like the ones that just won't leave me alone. And but the cool thing about it is the fact that you're going to be able to like reach out and like talk to people that are in your area and be like, hey, there's this guy like that won't leave me alone. Can someone come and help? And I think that's the aspect that I kind of really love is the fact that of reaching out to the community, reaching out to your server and actually cultivating like a really epic battle, like a PvP battle.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, there was a lot of times.
It's happened in other games.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Classic WoW, how many times you get like two people fighting in a really contested area and all of a sudden like you have a 50 versus 50 man war happening because people just keep calling friends over.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
I know. And it becomes like this, like random battleground, like of where you're at and just all these people. And then you have these passerbys like, what the hell's going on? And you just have this like random battle of like everybody just participating and stuff like that. And again, because there's a lot of people who think that, oh, if the corruption system is too punishing, there won't be PvP. And I'm like, no, there will be PvP because I think I've said this many times, there's going to be plenty of people that are going to roll combatant. They're going to be purple. And you're going to have a lot of purple on purple death. Like, again, I think, again, it's these people who want to be green and don't want to PvP as much. Like, so I think as a PvPer, you're going to engage in plenty of PvP because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to willingly go purple. But the people that don't want to really do that, they're just going to try to skirt on by and be like, hey, dude, I just want to gather. I just want to go and do my quest. You know, I understand you guys want to PvP, but I'm not going to fight back.
Yeah.
And again, it's like for a PvPer's true excitement, like it's the challenge, right? And I think for the trolls, it's the griefing part of it. So I think if they fix it, the PvPers will be able to engage in actual PvP that they want to, but the trolls won't be able to do the things that they want to. And that's kind of the point of the corruption system.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the corruption system is awesome. I think the way it's designed, it's not just good as is, but it's very easy to tweak. If it's not good enough, you make it a bit more punishing. If it's too punishing, you tweak it a little bit backwards. It's a very easy system to min-max. So I'm not really too worried about it. I think it's going to be in a good spot.
Right. So as far as like what people value in an MMORPG, like, so for me, like when it comes to MMOs, like I greatly value like player customization, like talent point allocation, like what's in my talent tree. Like we recently just saw the more updated talent tree of the wand in the Midnight Magic showcase. We've seen like where these talent trees are going for the classes. Like, so for you, like what is it that you value to the moment to moment, button to button decision making
in combat in general? And
in combat.
Wow, it's so easy to give an answer that's not really true because everybody thinks their build is special, but I catch myself playing meta builds as well, so I can't really say I want to have my own unique build because I've played many meta builds in many different games and
Right,
had fun anyway. Like I'll
right,
take Zizaran's guide for a build in PoE and just go, roll with that and have a blast.
right.
So while yeah, customization and like build diversity is freaking awesome, I don't think it's necessarily something I need to have to really have a good time in a game. I I, I think I more value that there is many different ways to play where I can find one where it just really fits me really well. And
Right.
the more customization there is, the more likely that's to be the case. Like I hate when I see a game coming out, it's like, oh, okay, well, these are the 3 or 4 predefined ways we've balanced the game to be played. Pick one of the 4. If
Right.
none of the 4 really appeal to me, I'm like, well, it's mediocre. I
Right.
can't make it the way I want it to be. So yeah, customization is awesome just because not necessarily I can make a unique way to play, but I can find the way to play that I really enjoy.
So I think it's going to be quite different in Ashes, at least in my head, because uh, every class will be able to wield any weapon. They'll be
Sure.
able to put on any piece of gear, whether it's light, medium, or heavy.
Hmm.
And there's also the rock, paper, scissors approach, right?
Sure.
So how do you meta something where you have to balance PvE and PvP? Because the meta could be, well, I'm a rogue and my weakness, let's just say, is mages. Mages is
Sure.
like I'm paper, mages is scissors.
Sure.
Um, but I want to do a meta build where I can actually almost stand on my own against a mage. But that also means I am now weak against other classes.
Sure.
Or I want to make a build that's more group based. I want to be more like around, if I have a bard with me, I got a summoner with me, I got these buffs on me, I got a tank protecting me. I'm gonna meta myself into that.
Yeah.
But that build now unmetas you for any kind of a 1v1 single player kind of combat approach.
Yeah. That's exactly what I love. I love that aspect of
Right.
it.
And I
You
think
can
that's
choose
the whole
exactly how you want to play.
right. And but there, I think in most people's minds when they think of meta, they think over encompassing, like this is the one build, the one talent allocation that you can have for everything. Like you're going to be
That's
good.
that's, that's
And,
just wrongful thinking.
no, for sure. And but
I
there's a
can't
lot of
exist.
games who that does facilitate for, because what
Sure. I mean, okay, yeah, yeah, but that's when the dev literally says this is the class, this is how we expect it to be played, and
right.
you'll enjoy this. Have fun with it.
Right. And so for me, I think the diversity of just how, again, you're going to have like the meta build for a rogue to go up against a ranger, the meta build for a rogue to be in a castle siege, the meta build
Sure.
for a rogue to go up against,
100%. And they're going to
this.
be different.
And they're
Definitely.
all going to be different. At least
Yeah.
that's my hope, right? Because I don't want there to be this very copy and pasted approach that's just, well, the meta build for the rogue is the same for node wars, solo, group, dungeons, world bosses,
Yeah.
because then I think it failed, right?
I mean, I know right off the bat when I make my characters, I'm going to look for one thing and one thing only. Make sure my build can beat every single matchup that I think is a good matchup, and
Right.
make sure my build can run away and reset from a fight from every bad matchup. And
Right.
if there's one class that can do that best, I'll take that class. 'Cause that's
Right.
for me is fun. That way, I like the feeling in the open world where I know nobody can beat me 1v1. Because if it's a good matchup, I'm guaranteed to win. If it's a bad matchup, I'm guaranteed to run away.
So would you rather be overpowered in a sense for PvP aspects, but then underpowered in PvE
Absolutely.
aspects?
Especially with no DPS meters, they'll never
Right.
even know.
I mean,
You'll be
that's
in there
you're not.
swinging your fives while everyone's hitting 25, and you're like, "Damn, you guys are kind of slow," you know? No one will know. You're good, man.
Hey, I've always said this. You know what I mean? The reasoning why I think a lot of people want to make sure that they're around people that are contributing to the numbers as much as they are. And you have this approach when it comes to World of Warcraft. That's why people want to see logs, because they don't want to bring somebody that's going to be less than the tank as far as
Sure,
damage goes, right?
sure.
But again, in a game like Ashes, like I honestly don't mind being underpowered in PvP if that means I'm overpowered for PvE.
And a
And
lot of
again,
people don't.
and
Yeah,
again, and I think it just you got to kind of pick your poison, right? Like what
correct.
meta build do you want to be meta for? Because there's so many aspects to Ashes of Creation where if you just want to be that dungeon diver that just all does all the dungeons, specking specifically for dungeons could actually shoot you in the foot for PvP, or could shoot you in
Absolutely.
the foot for world bosses, you know? And I think
That
that's
was true
actually
in World of Warcraft. It was true in even New World. Every MMO is like that to an extent.
right, to be able to like spec into a certain like
Yeah, I mean, you
niche
have
part
PvE
of it.
spec and PvP spec. Now,
Right.
a lot of them got to the point where you can like freely swap between specs. So you can just get best of both worlds.
Hmm.
World of Warcraft introduced like double specs, like dual specking,
Right.
etc. But I still think it's a great system to be forced to play one way or another,
Right.
because then you really own it. You know, like I know what I'm good at, and while I'm going to suffer in other parts, I don't mind because I'm really good at the thing I specialized in. I
Okay.
get a feeling of like not necessarily importance, but value. Like
Hmm.
this is what I'm all about. And then if I get bored of it, I can always go to something else. But if I'm just good at everything and everyone's good at everything, you feel kind of like the same as everyone else.
Right. So there's also a lot of people in the Ashes space that want it to be somewhat hard to respec yourself. Now I'm
Mhm.
just curious, like, where do you sit with this? Because we talked about like dual specking, like, you know, Classic WoW ended up doing. I think this was in Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
Like, do you want the ability to have like loadouts, or like, you know, if I'm going
No.
to be engaged in PvP, I want to have this loadout. If I'm going to engage in PvP, I want to have this loadout.
I think like talent tree respecking, I really like that to be expensive, because if it's not, you don't resonate with your character as much. You don't own your character as much. Your character is this flimsy thing that can be this or that at the press of a button. You don't really have a character. You just have a kit, and that
Mm-hmm.
kit you modify to whatever is the new situation that you want. I love the fact of just owning my character. This is what my character does, and this is how it does it. Now, Ashes is going to have, for example, that doesn't necessarily mean you can have different ways to play your character without respecting. You have different weapons. You can train all your weapons in the same time if you want to. You have multiple different spells. Some are stronger than others depending on your leveling. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think respecking is important, at least in MMOs, because it's so hard to make alts. Although to be fair, like I had a lot of peers in RuneScape. And
Right.
I really like the RuneScape approach, where if you get 20 points in defense, you can't go back down to like, a, a peer that has no defense.
Right.
And it did give a lot of longevity to the game having to make alts. Though I think in Ash's situation, yeah, respecs definitely should be a thing. I just hope they're expensive. Expensive enough that people are not going to be swapping them left and right. Maybe they'll do it occasionally. Maybe there's a really cool event we want to do. Hey, let's all like we got to defend a node. Everybody respect the full on PvP. Like, okay, yeah, there's a node war. Now it's worth to respect. But if people are respecting 2 3 times a day, I think it's a net negative. Even if people might like the convenience of it, I think it gives less immersion and less like identity.
Hmm. I don't know if I agree. The only reason why
Hmm.
is because it's like I think of PoE. PoE is
Sure.
definitely you make a decision, you're stuck with this decision kind of thing.
Yeah, more regrets.
But it's if you make too many wrong decisions, like you just kind of bricked your character in that sense, right? If you experimented too much, like you just have a dead character. Now you have to start all over again. And so, like you said, when it comes to the respecs, like I don't mind having very solid decision making when it comes to a certain thing, but like at least in my mind, and maybe this is more of like my WoW brain talking, like I don't want people to respec out in the open world, right? Like I
Hmm.
want to be able to, like, if I'm out in a dungeon and I specifically spec to be more PvE in nature because I'm at a
Sure.
dungeon, well, if there's PvP there, then I just bone myself in a sense. Like, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like,
Correct.
and so I think again, there's always going to be that decision making, but I also love experimentation because you
Hmm.
can't experiment in a system that forces you to make a singular decision and is expensive to respect. So
Correct.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So then it's a question of how expensive. So for example, I think Classic WoW is fine.
Okay. Like as far as the
Classic WoW,
respecting
your
cost?
first respect's free, second one's 1 gold, and it scales up to what is it? What is the max level it scales to?
Oh my god, I don't know
Forget
because I've
now.
never even got to that point. It's because it gets really expensive. I
Yeah,
think it's like
it gets
almost
expensive, but it also
yeah,
like if you haven't done it for a while, I think the price even drops down afterwards.
right,
And people did respect in Classic WoW. I did a few times,
right,
but it's enough that makes you think, do I really want to spend that money? No, not really. You know,
right,
I think it should be accessible. I don't think you should be able to break your character at all. I think that's a bad approach,
right,
especially if it takes like 100 hours to get max level or whatever.
right.
There's no way that you want that to be the case. but
Right.
I think it should be expensive enough that people don't do it on a whim.
Right. And again, I would not advocate for them to be like, oh crap, I'm at a dungeon, there's PvP there. Let me just quickly like swap my spec over to like PvP stuff. Like, I don't want that. I'm not advocating for that
Sure.
at all. I'm just saying that if I'm in a node, if I'm in a rested area and I
Mhm.
decide, hey, we're gonna go do PvP stuff, and I spec all in PvP, but
Sure.
then a world boss spawns and we're like, hey, we're gonna do this world boss.
Mhm.
Well, fuck. Like, I guess I'll just be kind of shit DPS then, because I spec all
Sure.
for more like mobility, more PvP kind of stuff. I have my PvP abilities compared to my PvE ones. Like, and I think again, it's that decision making that I like, because at least in my head, the more I can experiment with choice, the more I appreciate my class. Like, because then all I'm doing is, if it's really hard to respec, and these decisions are like kind of semi-permanent, then it really de-incentivizes me to experiment or to try out different builds, because I have to just choose the one, because the next time I do something, like I don't know if I'll have the money or I'll have the
Sure.
resources to do
What
that.
is semi-permanent? For example, how much? Okay, let's put it in game time. How
Okay.
much game time should it cost to farm enough gold for a respec in your mind? Where it's at a level that you're
Ooh.
very happy. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 20 seconds? Is it 2 hours? Is it 1 week? What is in your mind where you think it would be ideal for you as a player? How
Oh,
much farming time?
that's so hard to answer, because it's like, what are you farming? Like, what is the gold per hour?
Well,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like how many hours? You know,
okay. Oh,
or minutes? Maybe you want instant respec for free. I mean, I don't know. What is your choice? If you were the designer, where would you be happy at?
I would say I wouldn't mind with like a mulligan, and then the next one over being this kind of like a pretty deep, not saying like let's say if a gold is pretty easy to obtain in ashes, right?
Sure,
um I wouldn't want it to be like a gold to respect the next time. Like, I would want
sure.
it to be like 50 gold,
Well,
and
okay.
then
So how long does it take in your mind to farm 50 gold? Like what is the investment of time you have to do in order to farm enough gold to respec? Because it all comes down to, like, you can't say gold because we don't know what gold is worth,
right,
but we all know
okay,
what time is worth.
I would say maybe 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even less than that. I think, like, if you can I think a respec should maybe cost you, like, 2 to 3 hours of farming.
Okay, I'm probably done with that.
Like, it's enough that you're like, "Well, I can respec for this, but I just wasted 3 hours farming just for the respec. Like, I don't wanna do it." You know?
Right, right,
Like,
okay,
that's where I want it. I don't want it to be prohibitively expensive, but I
right,
want it to be enough that, like, nobody wants to throw away 2 hours of farming just to respec, you know?
right,
So it's a decision that weighs heavily on you.
right,
Even an hour weighs heavily on you. Like 1 hour of farming just to put it away, just to change specs. People are going to pick a spec they're usually happy with, even if it is
right.
just an hour.
Even if they're probably mediocre, like if they don't spec totally in PvP and not
Yeah,
totally
they
in
might do a bit
PvE,
of both. You
right?
know?
Do like a hybrid build and kind of stick with
Yeah,
that for a little bit. No, I think that's fine. I mean, and again, like I guess it's because in my mind, like I just hate it when games are just so prohibitive and like wanting to, hey, I've never played with this ability. Like, let me try this ability out. And
yeah,
that's what I'm really going to do in Alpha 2. So that way, when the live game comes out, like I already know all these abilities. I've played all these abilities. I know what I like, what I
yeah,
don't like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good rotationally. And because again, that's kind of what I value. Like, I want my moment to moment gameplay to feel as fun as possible. And it always
for sure.
sucks whenever you start a game out and you're like, oh, there's like 6 abilities that just came up and I can only choose one. Like,
Yeah,
but I can't choose these other ones because it's kind of forcing me to make this decision and only this decision. So now it's like, well, like I said, I'm trying to think of it as a new player, not someone like me who's gonna be testing the
correct.
game for years before the game comes out. I'm thinking of someone who's in that moment decision of like, oh wow, I got 6 abilities and I can only choose one. I better make this one count. Like, I guess it's that kind of approach that I see it being for some players being like,
Yeah.
ooh, like
But I expect Ashes, you're going to get all your abilities available at a low level.
you
Like, I
think
mean,
so?
at Alpha 1, what was it like? You had all your abilities at level 1 basically if you wanted to, and then you just to, like, increase their level just to make them useful. I don't think experimenting with like low level ability is going to be a problem. I don't know. It depends how you unlock the abilities. If it's only in the skill tree, maybe you can unlock them all. Maybe you can't really experiment with them all. I can understand what you're saying there.
Right. And I think that's kind of the thing that we haven't seen, because we've seen it from a preview perspective, not an
Sure,
actual testing perspective. Like, what is it
sure.
actually going as a level 1 mage and going to
Yeah,
level 10? Like, how, like we're gonna
exactly.
probably earn 10 talent points of some kind.
Yeah.
But what is the ability allocation to that? Like, how many abilities can we earn from 1 to 10? And what are the decision making processes of those abilities? Like, that's the thing we truly haven't seen. And honestly, like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if we're gonna even see that in Alpha 2, because I think we are gonna be given like a kind of a bucket of abilities to kind of go and level with, but I don't know if that's gonna be representative of the final
At
product.
level 1?
Yeah, I think in my head, I think we're not just gonna have, because you think of like classic WoW,
Yeah.
like when you start off level 1 as a mage, you have Frostbolt.
Frostbolt, yeah.
That's it. Like that's what you got. So, and as you keep leveling, like every 2 levels, you
Get
start
more and more, yeah.
more and more abilities. But I think from what it's going to be, I think at level 1, when it comes to Ashes, you're just going to have like maybe 7 abilities, and then you're going
I
to
actually don't like that. I love starting off with 1, just adding one more. I
okay.
like the classic WoW approach personally.
Well, and again, I think when I say it's not going to be representative of the final product, I think they're going to do that for Alpha 2. But I think
Yeah.
the actual live game may do that. And again, I could be totally wrong. They could.
How was it in Alpha 1? I don't remember.
Dude, I did not even play Alpha 1. Like
No?
I watched people play it, but I honestly I couldn't even tell you like what the ability allocation was like.
I'm trying to remember what it was like in Alpha 1. I don't recall.
I remember everybody using a wand because the wand was completely overpowered.
Yeah.
People were just killing people with the wand.
It's true, yeah.
Oh, it was nuts. But yeah, I kind of agree with you, because whenever I played World of Warcraft Classic with my wife, she's never played an MMO before. She actually had a better time understanding MMO mechanics in Classic WoW than she did in retail WoW. In retail WoW, like, she felt so rushed and so overwhelmed with how many abilities she earned and how fast you level, because in Classic WoW you level relatively slow in comparison to retail. And so I kind of think of like that with Ashes, because Ashes is going to have a very slow leveling process. And I'm just curious, like, GrappLr, like, what do you think of the leveling process in Ashes? Like, do you think it's actually going to be slower than Classic WoW, or do you think it's going to be as, like, maybe on pace as Classic WoW?
From what I've heard from Steven, it sounds like it's going to be slower than Classic WoW to reach max level. And I guess it's going to depend server to server how fast nodes go as well, and how early you get access to higher tier content and whatnot. In general, I don't really care how slow it is, but so what Classic WoW does really well, what a lot of games like RuneScape do really well that a lot of newer MMOs just don't do, is you don't care if you get max level early or not. You have a really fun time towards getting max level. Like, levels 20 to 30 are a blast, 30 or 40 are a blast. It's part of the game experience. And each game, that's true for a different reason. And the reason, like most games right now, it really feels like a chore to get to max level is because everything you do before max level doesn't matter.
Right.
Once you've hit max level, everything you've done up to that point, it was tutorial.
Right.
None of the items you got mattered. None of the bosses you beat mattered. Nothing matters at all. Classic WoW, and not only that, but if you get there late, you are so far behind everyone else.
Right.
Like, people are way ahead of you. So Classic WoW kind of solved that with lockouts and raids, because even if you took a week longer than your friends to reach like Molten Core, it really didn't matter. Like, most of your friends don't even have one BIS item for Molten Core. Even if they did it one time, it takes a couple of runs even to get 1 or 2 items.
Right.
So you're not really far behind. And it gives the casual player a chance to really like keep up even with the hardcore players, because you only have to do 1 Molten Core a week and you can't do more. Other games like RuneScape, it doesn't matter because it's a full-on sandbox, unlike Classic WoW. And in a sandbox, max level is not what dictates what you're doing. You can be a level 3 skiller and be, you can get all your skills maxed out and never do combat. You can do PvP at a very specific PvP bracket and never raise your combat. So it'll come down to what you want to do in Ashes. Ashes being more of a sandbox, I could see a lot of people not necessarily caring too much about max level. They might be working towards node politics. They might be working towards getting their gathering skill as high as humanly possible. And yeah, they might be level 30 while most people are level 45, but their wood cutting is 50 levels above everyone else. They're getting all the best wood, they're making bank. And by the time they get to level 60, they've made so much from the early wood cutting that they can buy whatever gear they want compared to their friends. So you don't want to, I think what's important is that people don't feel like if they're not rushing leveling, they're missing out or being inefficient. So I like that horizontal progression where you can go in other paths.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And there's actually this sentiment now, because the castle sieges have changed to where it's going to be at level 50. And so now there's like, wow, okay, so is there a rush now to get to level 50? Now that may not matter, because let's say the first castle siege realistically isn't going to happen for 4 to 6 months until the live game launches, right? Like maybe the process to do a live castle siege is going to be that way anyway. But still, people rush. And then the other facet too is that you can't earn a freehold apparently now until level 50. So I think freeholds are very important to people. People want a freehold desperately in Ashes. So I think honestly, even disregarding the castle sieges, I really hope they reconsider the allowing people to purchase a freehold at level 50, and just allowing them to get it whenever they have the proper requirements, whether it's gold, whether it's materials, whatever. I just don't want people. You don't want to rush people arbitrarily to an end level, because they're not going to enjoy the experience of getting there. They're going to miss out on so much stuff, because all they're trying to do is all of the super gamey, most XP activities, like rinse and repeat on loop, and it's going to fry their brain. And by the time they get to max level and they get the thing they want, now they're just like, I don't even want to play anymore. You know what I mean? And that happens.
You're right.
So
when I played New World, I told all my friends, what the hell are you guys doing? They're like, they were just doing the same thing over and over. I'm like, for what? To get max level? I'm like, and what are you going to do at max level? I don't know. And then they all quit.
Chest runs.
They hit max level and they're like, well, there's nothing to do, bro. And while I was having a blast the whole time, I was just doing open world PvP, slowly leveling.
Right. And I think that there should be stuff for you to do at max level, but I think the thing
absolutely 100%.
The thing is that max level should feel at any level. Like level 21 in Ashes should feel like max level, because you're doing any activity you want to do. Because that's the laterality and freedom that most MMOs offer, is the fact that and I'm talking at max level. Like when you go to max level, the reason why people rush, like you were saying, is because everything opens up at max level. But what if in Ashes max level, you could feel like it's max level at level 21 is what I'm saying, because you can do anything you want at level 21. You're not barrier to anything.
So the way I see it is, in a really good sandbox MMO, not every activity at its highest level requires combat. Whereas in a more linear MMO that's not open, like that's not sandboxy, it's more like, what is the word? Not sandbox, but like theme park.
Yeah,
like
theme park
max
sandbox.
Level and do whatever.
Right.
Everything is gated behind your max level combat level.
Right.
Like every endgame activity, you need max level.
Right.
That's not the case for it. Hopefully, it shouldn't be the case for Ashes. Do you need max level to get your wood cutting higher? Why? If they add it as a requirement, why? Why would you want to do that? Right. Do you need it for mining? Do you need it to make a ship and do transporting? If you want to run caravans, you don't necessarily need it. Like it's not going to, like whether you're level 20 or 50, it shouldn't stop you from doing a lot of activities that are not combat focused.
Right.
You can be a mayor and be level 20. Now, they might make it a requirement to be 50 for whatever arbitrary reason they choose, but I think it's really cool when it's not the case, because then people feel like, well, you know what? It might take me longer than everyone else to get to 50. But what I'm doing in the meantime, even though I'm not leveling, it's worth something,
So you would actually want people that are playing professions to be able to go to max level, like a grandmaster, like at any level? Like, is that like...
Sure, why not? What is the downside to it?
Well, because there's going to be areas in Ashes that are going to be like in Classic WoW, right? Like if you go to...
More hostile, higher mobs.
Right. So like
if it's their choice not to level up, why should you punish them further on with requirements? Like, yeah, if you're master woodcutter and you're level 20 and you're having a hard time surviving in this big forest with big bears, well, maybe you should level up.
Right.
But why force them not to be allowed to do that? Let them do that, and then let them choose to level up afterwards. But there's no reason to put like an arbitrary, well, you still have to be level 50 to enter these woods. Let them make the mistake. Let them walk in and die, and they'll learn from that. And they're gonna say, well, I guess I need to level a bit.
I like that approach.
Or I can be sneaky and find my way to that tree without dying.
And again, the reason why for me it's because when I've played WoW for 16 years, I have not really played like hardly any sandbox games. So it's like to hear that kind of approach as a WoW player is just like, because I'm so ingrained where everything is a required level, right? Like you have to be level 30 to get this, or you have to be level 45 to get that.
Like high level areas as a lower level, probably. Like if you wanted to go to monastery, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Scarlet Monastery.
Yeah, as a lower level, well, you got to run through some high level areas. You might have to die a few times and
Right.
corpse walk, but you did it, and it's fun, right?
Right.
Because you chose to take that approach.
Right. Yeah. I think, I think a lot of developers have taken the laterality away from players, and
Yeah,
they're trying to make players not make wrong decisions. And
100%.
and Steven actually talked about that during this last Midnight Magic thing, where he says they're going to allow players to make bad decisions, like bad decision making. And I think if you're going to allow that to happen, like there should be some way to like, like we're talking about with talent point allocation, right? Like if they made a bad decision and they realized they made a bad decision, there should be
Yeah,
a way to fix that.
absolutely.
And if there is that thing where it's like, well, hey, I want to get to Grandmaster, because again, if they do what you're asking, you're going to have people take it as a challenge where I
Sure.
am going to play Ashes of Creation as a level 1 and I'm going to get to a Grandmaster profession
Absolutely.
and
That's
see if I
fun.
can do it. And again, I think is the fun part is what you keep saying that I love, because that's the thing that I have not seen in most other MMOs is that the developers don't allow their players to have fun. They want to put them on rails. They
Sure.
want to put them on training wheels and allow them to not make the wrong decisions. You're going to do the same thing as everyone else and be this kind of cookie cutter. We're making it a very cookie cutter approach. And I think with Steven and what Intrepid are doing with Ashes is they're trying to allow them to do the things that they want to do and not the things that the game is forcing them to do.
Yeah.
Right. And so, dude, yeah, we've been talking for over an hour. I just look at the clock right now. We've been talking for an hour and like 15
Yeah. Time
minutes.
goes fast. Yeah.
Crap. Okay. So is there anything else you want to mention as a final thing, or maybe something that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to, or anything? If not, it's cool. Just wanted to leave it open.
I don't know. I think dwarves are awesome. Best class, easy.
Bless race.
Best race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best race dwarves.
Dude, yeah.
Dude, default jump in Alpha 1 for dwarves was a front flip.
Oh,
You just
really?
felt everywhere. Yeah, it was awesome. Just for that, I would pick dwarf as my starting race. 100%.
Dude, yeah, and the updated dwarves, man, even from Alpha 1
It
to
looked
where
really cool.
they look epic. They look just like Lord of the Rings dwarfs. It's insane.
I got the dwarf supporter pack, the one before the last one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm still debating. Like, I don't know. I'm either they're gonna go Renkai, Tolnar, but also the Veiloon look really cool. The Jin form looks pretty damn epic to me.
Which one is that?
The Veiloon is like the Egyptian, like the
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
yeah.
with the hooked nose. Yeah,
Yes,
that
yes.
looks really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just love that whole ability to go into Jin for it and seeing how that's gonna look. But dude, GrappLr, and again, guys, please stay. We're gonna do a little bit of an after show. We're gonna talk for about like 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're gonna end it. But we're gonna end the episode now. So guys, if you like this episode, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe for more content. Of course, it helps out the algorithm. And GrappLr, where can people find you online?
Twitch, YouTube, both GrappLr, GrappLr. GrappLr's
Awesome.
about the E.
Okay. Well, I am going
Thanks
to
for having
leave.
me on, man.
Oh, dude, no, I really appreciate you coming on, dude. Seriously, thank you so much. And I will have his links in the description below. So I am your boy Vladis for Vladis Gaming. That is your boy GrappLr, and we will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys. All right. That's
was
the end of the
pretty good,
YouTube.
man.
Dude,
That was
yeah,
fun.
that was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
And dude, honestly, I've been wanting to say this. You have the most amazing hair. Holy crap. I'm sure people are looking at you with like sheer jealousy. Like, oh my God.
All right. Thanks, man. Yeah. There's a meme on my channel that I'm bald and it's a wig. So
Oh, dang.
don't tell my viewers that. Yeah. Everyone says it's a
Oh
wig.
my
so
God.
we're-
That's
I
crazy,
take
dude.
it.
Oh my God. Well, dude, honestly, man, like I think a lot of people are like excited for Ashes, but I think there's also a lot of people that just have a pessimism about it because they truly don't know the product. I mean, again, you've been following the game for a couple of years now, right? I mean, since 2020 probably, right? So, I mean, do you think that this game is going to be misconstrued to the general audience?
I don't think so. I think it's going to do really well as long as it has no big issues that like plague it. I can see it doing really well because you're going to have, yeah, people might get the wrong idea with it, but you're going to have some really good content creators that if the game is good, they'll probably stick with it.
Right.
And if they stick with it, the audience is going to learn to like it over them. Like if the game is really great, I can see Asmongold spending a lot of time. All of his viewers are going to like it eventually if it's a good game. You know,
Right.
it's hard for a good game to fail unless it has something that just drives people away. And I don't really see what that can be in Ashes.
You
I
don't
mean,
think the PvP is going to drive people away? That's what everyone keeps worried about is the
no, because
PvP.
it's so easy to balance. And okay, so I played Albion online. I don't know if you played Albion.
I did not. No.
Yeah, Albion has open world PvP everywhere. The game is
Right.
very popular, and it's much more punishing. There's no corruption system, for example, and it's full
Right.
loot, not just minor loot. And the game
Right.
does well. Ashes is so mild. Like, yeah, you say like, will PvP drive the people away? But once people realize how bad it is to become corrupted, people will not go corrupted.
Right.
I just don't think it's gonna, I think you're gonna rarely see anyone corrupted after a little bit of time passes. Because you just need to educate people that, yeah, this is not something you want.
Right.
The
And
gain is just not there. You just lose so much value and you just gain nothing from it.
well, and then again, there's also like again backing up to reputation, because if your guild, certain guild, there's certain guilds that have policies where we don't want our players to go corrupt for any reason. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And again, it because the reputation matters. Like we don't want people on our server to look at our banner and then it'd be like, oh yeah, they're just a bunch of corrupted people. Like they're just a bunch
Sure.
of idiots or douchebags, or whatever the case is, right? So there's a lot of people who want to have a very positive diplomatic approach to their server. They want to be like the positive, enforcement on their server to like when
Yeah,
people
I
look
can
at
see
their
that.
banners and be like that force for good. But there's also a lot of people that want to be like, and again, I think those players will not be as staunch corrupted players as they think, because there's a lot of people who think they're going to live and eat and sleep and breathe corrupt.
Yeah,
And
it's not going to happen.
and I think it's going to happen at a very very minute scale, like
Yeah.
0.01. I think a lot of people say, people are so big to talk, but I think to actually do it is going to be a whole other thing.
Especially with bounty hunters as a
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And like, there's so many things preventing it from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the more corrupt you get, you end up being a worthless character, basically. You get so much XP debt, so much debuffs on you that you got to spend hours grinding it off. And it's just such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Like, play as corrupted all the time. It just sounds so unfun that you're rarely going to see it. I think much more possible is going to be people just like in trying to instigate fights, being
Right.
annoying. Maybe they'll pull creeps towards you. Maybe they'll attack you but not kill you. Stuff like that might happen.
Right.
But eventually, if they see you're not fighting back, they're going to leave you alone. No, I do expect much more mutual fights to happen. Two people flagging up fighting. It's
Right.
going to be more common. But I think if you're going to be the kind of guy who never goes purple and never fights back, people are going to leave you alone.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and again, like I, as someone who has to constantly defend Ashes or like re-explain certain systems, or to try to like, people panic about when they hear a certain system and they're like, oh my God, because they think of their game, which is like, again, a lot of my friends play WoW, just like in Albion, there is no corruption system. Like as a PvPer in open world in WoW, you can kill someone repeatedly over and over and over and have no penalties. That's not the case in Ashes, at all. And I think, again, once people truly understand how punishing it is to be corrupt, I really think it'll balance itself out, and I think it's truly what's really at stake isn't more of the corrupted players. It's more of, are purple players going to be constantly trying to grief green players? But even if that is the case, and like we were talking about earlier with like, shooting a single arrow and interrupting their, gathering mechanic, that's going to lead into other things. And I think that's truly, in my opinion, the point of Ashes of Creation.
Absolutely.
It's I think it's going to be one of the backbones, because you're literally going to see like the YouTube drama emerge from one rivaling guild to another based off of that kind of an interaction. It all started because I was trying to gather flowers and this freaking guy would not leave me alone. And then we've been in a 2-year epic guild war with this. And I think that all that is what screams that to me is content. You're literally experiencing content and having something to do and having something to look forward to. Like, that's to me the whole beauty of MMORPGs. And I think that aspect has been lost for quite a long time. So I don't know. Let me look at some of the people in chat. Guys, I am so appreciative of you guys in chat, and you guys have been talking up a storm. I try to give my guests the full amount of attention, but since we're in the after show, I just want to kind of see what people are saying in chat. I see our boy Dez. I see Shiva. I see Delayed. It's so good to have you guys. Let me see. Purple killing green still turns them red. No, 100%. And that's what I mean. Like if the green or if the purple player wants to kill them, of course they're gonna turn corrupted. But I think like GrappLr was saying, they're gonna grief them in other ways without turning corrupted. And I think it's that kind of an interaction that I think is gonna lead to these bigger battles. Which is really quite cool. Let me see, but baiting people to purple so you can kill them is going to be interesting. And that too. Like again, like you're gonna have people that are gonna be baited from turning from green to purple, and now they're a purple combatant. You know what I mean? And that's gonna be a very interesting game loop. Like, can I piss off this green person enough to actually turn combatant and actually PvP me?
I'll find a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the other side to it too. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of really cool things about that kind of a system. And again, it's like I said, if you don't want to be bothered, then just try to run with your guild, try to run with people, because again, there's always going to be safety in numbers. I think the people who are going to be picked on are these people that are trying to run solo, that are trying to run stuff by themselves,
especially if they're purple already. It's free kill.
Oh yeah, 100%. Let me see, in games like AOC, the real sweaty guild or the really sweaty people / guilds will have secondary and tertiary accounts to handle corruption and be able to kill people, but that will be a small percentage overall. The way the grind seems, it won't be beneficial to do overall. People will become used to the theme park MMO, and I think you might get some people really going red early on, but then feeling the effects of corruption and curbing it back because of the penalties, it won't be that bad. Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think again, early on, you might have people that thinking they want to be corrupted all the time, but then once they truly see how long it's going to take for them to, not be corrupted anymore and to try to go back, and then the bounty hunters trying to kill them, and then they lose like an equipped item that is like really valuable to them. Like they're going to realize, maybe I don't want to be corrupted. Like this is, like you said, it's not supposed to be a fun thing. Maybe you're doing it for content. Maybe as a creator on YouTube, you're like, hey, I'm gonna go corrupted. I want to see how long I can last on my server. But I think as a realistic, like normal average player, I truly don't think the life of a corrupted player is going to be for them personally. Let me see. How does GrappLr feel about the weapon system? Does he like the current iteration, or would he like to see it change? Well, that's a good question, GrappLr. What do you think of the new weapon system?
It's really hard to say. Like we've seen so little of it, and I think you really need to play it to get a feel for it. Like for
Agreed.
example, one, what have we seen? We've only seen lasers on ones. I've not seen or felt the alternative on how it feels. I don't know when I would choose one over the other because I've not seen the options. I love the fact there's a skill tree for weapons. I think that's really cool.
Right.
New World had that. I don't know if you played New World or how much you played it.
I played it very briefly, but I thought the talent trees in New World were very basic. They didn't really change your weapon too much or have any kind of a meaningful effect, at least to me. So,
well, the weapons had they had different, like the weapon skill trees were actually your skill trees in New World, which is not the case in Ashes.
right.
Because you didn't have normal skill trees, you just had weapon skill trees.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I think they work, but again, we've not really seen them in depth, so it's too early to make a choice on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think having, and again, I like what Steven was saying, is how they want to have in-depth weapon customization along with in-depth class customization, and then you combine that with the augment system, right? So your base talent tree is going to be abilities for your base class, and then passives that affect your base abilities. Yes. But then you're going to have augments that change your base abilities into your secondary, giving you the flavor of your secondary choice, correct, right? Making you your true class. So all of that customization, and then you again take upon weapon choice, you take upon gear choice. Like it could be quite crazy, and we don't even know if there's going to be like trinkets, in the game either, or something that could affect.
It would be cool if they had them.
I hope there is too. I love trinkets. Like I love having like something that's even more passive, like a set bonus. I really hope there's actually set bonus gear, like tier gear. Like I think all of that needs to be represented in the game personally.
All the hours I spent farming Prince Nasdaq for that stupid title charm, dude. It was worth it though. Getting that thing was absolutely worth it.
And that's the thing too, is like having these really epic chase items, man. Like I feel like a lot of MMOs now, everything's just locked in the raid. Like it's true. It just feels so boring. Like there's nothing exciting about gear anymore. It's just like the epic is the new common, in my opinion. because
Yeah.
everybody's just in epics. Now, this is a good question, GrappLr. Like, how do you want to see people represented gear wise in Ashes? Do you actually like, because if you think back vanilla WoW, I remember
Yeah.
seeing a level 60 character in greens, some blues, and maybe an epic, you know, because again,
Yeah.
rating wasn't that predominant. It was really hard to orchestrate these things. And I know this is back then, but like, how do you want people to feel like when they're equipping gear? Do you want everybody at endgame to be all encased in epics, like all purple stuff, like, or do you actually want there to, do you want epics to feel epic again?
Well, I think it's really important for people to be able to garner attention when they get something really, really rare. So if everybody looks like a sparkling star, it's hard to really notice, look at that thing. What is that? Walk up to him, hey, what kind of sword is that? Oh, that's that sword, you know. So I think it is really nice where only the really, really hard to get stuff outshines everything else. You can't have everything being flashy because then nothing's flashy.
Right.
Now, that's in terms of like appearance. As for like whether it's commons, rares, purples, it depends on the game. I don't know. Like I think you can design it both ways and get success. Because
Hmm.
I mean, again, like you said, if epics are the new commons and legendaries are the new rares, and then you have like mythic legendaries, you know, like it's
Right.
just a naming convention at that point.
Right. I guess in my head, like I just kind of want it to feel like we're not just eliminating an entire rarity of
Yeah.
gear, right? So it's like because I think the way it is, it's gonna be common, uncommon, rare, epic, mythic, legendary, and artifact, if I'm not mistaken. That is
Okay.
the categories in Ashes. So, but I don't want it to just be like, oh, like, well, the whole point is just to be encased in mythics, right?
Yeah.
And like
But it's gonna happen, right?
it will happen, but
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that progression, right? Like I want it to actually feel like a progression rather than just like even now, like when it comes to leveling in most other MMOs, like you can get epics as you're leveling. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
nuts. Like
I think that's silly. I
it
do.
is silly. Like it's
Yeah.
just like I don't understand why you can't feel that sense of awe and progression. And again, I'm not saying that you can't have like some 1% drop rate that has an
Of
epic,
course.
but I don't mind being encased in greens as I'm questing. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that should be the way it is. It's all about the power dynamic, the power
Yeah.
scaling. Because I want it to feel like I'm actually truly progressing. This is the other reason why I don't want scaling in the game either, because anytime you have scaling, it
I
just
hate scaling.
yeah, no one I've talked to likes scaling. And but there are certain systems in Ashes that I'm really curious how they're going to deal with because
Like
like
what?
well, scaling would fix it, but like world bosses.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because
That is one.
well,
Yeah. I get
because
that.
I guess the only reason why I'm saying that, right, is because if Tumok is a level 30 and designed to be
He
a level 30
just
world
gets
boss,
zerged down.
it's just going to be zerged down by level 50s eventually,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what's truly the point of Tumok after a couple of months of play? You know what
True.
I mean? And so like I think that's and it's kind of unfortunate because there's always going to be people leveling. There's always going to be brand new people hopefully going into Ashes. So for people there is going to be a relevance in Tumok, but I think for the overall population it's just be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
let me just help you kill Tumok real quick,"
I, I,
you know.
I think it can be solved with a little bit of creativity from the devs. I really don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, I could see really epic ideas such as like even without telling the player base. Imagine if they had a system where if Tumog is burst down to 50% HP within 20 seconds, he goes into some like kind of like rage mode, and all of a sudden like, oh my god, we've never seen that before. Like I think they could do cool things, you know, and then let the players figure it out,
I
like
think
to prevent like full on zerging and make it flavorful. But yeah, if they just make it just base scaling, like yeah, for every attacker it gets 5% more HP. I think that's
I
it's a needed evil sometimes, but
I think
I
there
think there are
should be
cooler ways to do
some
it.
kind of a passive on these world bosses that aren't max level world bosses that have some sort of a the more people that are of higher level that are there, like those people have like Tumok goes for them and then Tumok gets enraged and could like one shot those people. So it's like you're almost disincentivized to invite a level 50 because all they're going to do is just die because Tumok's going to go get aggroed by them, hit them once, they die. you know.
I get that. Although I really don't like as a design decision to like punish people for being higher level. I think that feels bad. Like in general, hey,
I
what are you
agree with
doing?
you
I'm
on that
playing
too.
Puma.
Yeah.
Go, I can't help you. I'm too high level for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just that's what I'm saying, right? There's just certain
Yeah,
things that I can see scaling helping, but it doesn't
sure.
feel good, right? So like
Yeah,
I'm really curious to see what Intrep is going to do, and maybe the decision is, yeah, after a couple of months, 2 mock for people, like you can just go and have a group of 550s, just kill them, you know what I
sure.
mean, and that's
Yeah.
fine, you know. I have another question from Lude Lloyd. This is what do you think about the artifacts being OP for a month time and then degrading into a regular epic item that is decayed version of that artifact?
It's a neat idea.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you can do a lot of cool things with artifacts. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, how they're going to like take them away from you, what the mechanic is, but I like the idea they exist. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, because I think there's only going to be like there's going to be like one artifact may only have like 5 to 10 people on the server have them, and
Yeah.
then even when they
I
have
think some
them,
are even one person, aren't they?
yeah, there's some that are going to be that rare
Yeah.
too. And I think again, but those people won't be able to have them permanently.
Correct.
So and I think that's actually kind of cool too, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
rinse and repeats to like other people, so other people have that, like,
In
oh, this
Ashes, there's nothing broken about being overpowered for one person. Like if you have one
right,
person who's like 5% stronger than everybody else,
right.
that doesn't break the game, which is cool.
Yeah. I think again, though, maybe certain guilds or on that server might have advantages of that player being in their guild, but
Yeah, but
truly,
just like
like,
one person in a 50v50, even if they're
yeah,
10% stronger, it's not the end of the world. Like it doesn't
right,
really matter.
right,
It's just like a prestige thing.
right. Let me see. How will this interact with tier gear they show in the last live stream? Will tier gear be there for an upgrade, or is it an overlay for the gear you have? I think interactions with tier gear. I mean, I don't know if they are going to have like actual set bonus tier gear in Ashes. I hope they do. I hope they have them at a lot of different level brackets. I would love if there was like level 15 tier gear. I would love if there's like level 25 tier gear. Because again, having people aspire in a dungeon or whatever, and they did this in Classic WoW. Like Classic WoW
Yeah,
had like dungeon sets that you can go and
sure.
get like 2 of or 4 of or whatever.
Yeah,
And I think that's cool. Like I think again, anytime that you can feel unique in an MMO, that provides value. And
yeah,
anytime you feel valuable, it makes you feel good for your accomplishments. I think that's fine. And I think also too for crafters as well. Like I think crafters should be able to make some sort of set gear for either themselves or for their friends or whatever, right? Now I think those recipes should be rare. But I mean eventually I think, you know, as time moves on, right? Like you're just gonna have crafters that are gonna make them for servers or whatever. But I like the fact that, you know, all of the crafted gear is going to be tradable. Like I think that's going to be a really cool aspect in Ashes because a lot of MMOs always do like bind on pickup. You know, you're all so
yeah.
bounded gear. And if you GrappLr are running at a dungeon and you get a really nice drop, then the person that needs it or whatever, like that wanted it too, you can be like, hey, I have my old chest, you can have that one. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah,
Or I can sell you my chest, you know, if you want.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think that's a very good thing in a game like this.
I agree.
Let me see set gear's thing per the wiki. Yeah, I know there is going to be set gear. I don't know to what extent set gear is going to be in Ashes. Like again, like as I'm thinking set gear, I think of World of Warcraft because that's where my mind goes. But set gear in Ashes could be totally different. The set gear could actually not improve you as your class. It could just have like either a passive ability that the set derives from. Like maybe it's going to be like a range shower of arrows that the set provides, or it could actually influence your weapon. We don't know. Like I mean, they could do a myriad of things as to how they want set gear to interact with their player character. But I think, let me see, it's already 2:30. Like I actually gotta probably dip. I mean, GrappLr, you live in a whole other country. I would just really want to appreciate your time and thank you so much for being on with us this long. I really appreciate that. And again, you know, for people can find you YouTube, Twitch, Twitter at GrappLr with an L, and I will put that in socials at the bottom of the description. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we sign off?
Had a lot of fun, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me. And
Yeah.
I'll probably see you on the server when we play Alpha 2.
Yeah, I know, dude. I cannot wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun,
And
guys.
pretty soon, man. We're right around the corner.
August
We're not
2nd,
that far
guys.
off.
August 2nd.
Yeah.
Let's get ready, guys. Thank you all so much for showing up for this special live 1v1 here on Saturday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make good decisions. I will probably be streaming again tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Going to be doing more, see where we are AMA question wise, to make sure we get your questions voted on. But I will see you guys on the next one. You guys have a great weekend, guys.